All right, everybody, we are back again for another episode of the Coach's Compass. Now, remember, I don't know what episode it is. I just continue to record, continue to bring on cool guests from all across the world. Now, hit that like, subscribe, comment button down below so we continue to have this thing grow, continue to bring on cool guests from all across the world, and maybe, hopefully, one day, find some people out there that want to sponsor us so we can continue to have this thing grow. But I've got another special guest with me here today. I have Albert. He is a talent agent, professor, and certified hypnotist. He has spent 2 decades helping creatives, educators, and athletes break through self-doubt, imposter syndrome, and performance blocks. Albert, thank you, and welcome to the Coach's Compass.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
So Albert, how do you help people get past that big word of imposter syndrome? Because that's a huge thing for not only just athletes, but athletes as they switch over into the other side of life and become coaches, and then coaches as they continue on this journey of life of being coaches, of not knowing whether you're in the right position. How do you help them with that?
So, how do I help them with that? I help them by realizing their own potential, their own strengths within. So, the first thing is to maximize what they're really good at and what their strengths are, and then help them if there's any challenges or anything that they feel inadequate with, to help them with the developing the tools that they need to reach their own potential. And I think the value of coaching is not necessarily to prescribe, but to help a person find the answers that they need within, find their own strength within,
So-
and finding that they develop their own resources within.
And how did you come about this? Like, how did you start wanting to work with creatives, coaches, and athletes? And also, were you an athlete yourself? Is that what sparked the interest?
Well, what sparked my interest, I was always interested in creative arts. Now, I wasn't an athlete myself, but I grew up with athletes. My brothers were athletes. My father was an athlete and a former coach, and so is my oldest brother. He was a former football coach. So I grew up in the culture of athletes, and I always had a strong interest in psychology. So and not only just psychology, but like mindset. And so that's where I started studying psychology, and I started finding a lot of work of like Carol Dweck very interesting on mindset, Albert Bandura on self-efficacy, which is all related to performance and really how you carry out certain tasks. And the one thing that kept coming up is the importance of like believing in yourself. And there's obviously a lot of work done even with that athletes like in the mindset realm, and how the mindset is so important to success.
Yeah, I mean, it is a very huge component to how we go about our success, because there is that side of just the mental, that you have to go against the odds, right? Because if we always look at the odds of what it's like to make it from high school to the college level and college to the professional level at any sport, the odds are usually stacked up against you. So you got to have that mental edge with you to be able to continue on. But then we talk about the coaches side of things. How can coaches use psychology-backed mental training to support discipline and focus?
Well, the reasons you have to come up with tactics as to develop and focus, and sometimes what can affect the client's focus and discipline is their mindset. Is there sometimes even dealing with underlying issues? That could be underlying trauma. They could be underlying depression or something. They can be really holding themselves back. They can be masking itself as procrastination. So procrastination is a major problem that a lot of coaches have to work with clients through. And a lot of times, even procrastination might even be a trauma response or rooted in trauma. And having that understanding of psychology can help a coach maybe not necessarily do the work themselves, but maybe have the the knowledge to kind of like recommend that the person seek a mental health counselor if they need to. And that as a coach, you can kind of use that in conjunction, like
And
as a
how
team.
But how can procrastination be bad? I mean, because I'm a great procrastinator, if I had to say so for myself, right? Because I feel like if I wait to the last second to kind of build up the pressure on myself and like have to get it done, then I feel like I do my best work then. Like when I feel like I plan for it or do it too far ahead, then I'm doubting. You know what I mean? Like because you feel like like
Hmm.
there's too much time in between to kind of build up on it, right? So I want to just like, especially with like a project or something like that, I want to wait till the last minute to get it done because I feel like I do my best work under pressure. So why is procrastination kind of like a trauma?
Well, because number one, well, even if you look at it, you're waiting to the last minute, so you're under a lot of stress already to get it done, and you're raising your cortisol level already. You're in that fight or flight mode. I need to get this done, and most people who are really do a job can get it done. But what's the quality going to be like? You can get it done, but is it going to be of stellar quality? Or are you gonna just tell yourself that, kinda like self-deceive yourself by saying it's perfect? Because that's the only way kind of you know how to act. Because a lot of times when there's that extra time, you might be start second guessing yourself, and that's self-doubt coming in. And when you have when you're under the wire, there's no time to self-doubt. And it's safer that way. And we're wired for safety as human beings and comfort. So there's a bit of comfort and safety in that justification. You work well under pressure. What you're really saying is I work when I'm best safe and comfortable.
Hmm. I never thought of it that way. So you're saying that if I actually took away the procrastination, I might get some better work done.
Yes.
Hmm. Interesting. So have you ever had questions on the hypnotist side? Because I mean, that's tough for a lot of athletes to believe in, like that you're going to hypnotize them. And like, what do you do in a hypnotist? Like, what does a hypnotist do? That's what I'm asking, technically.
Well, it's all about mindset. It's all about getting your mind to be in alignment to your goals. So now hypnosis can't make someone be a better athlete. That comes with actual practice, actual practice and coaching, regular coaching. What I can do though is help you get out of the self consciousness aspect, the self doubt, the voice in your head, which a lot of times can hold you back performance wise. So it's like becoming the best person you can be at the moment. And that's why like a lot of times it's very effective. Even with like let's say you go at boxers or wrestlers before a match. What I can do in hypnosis is have them imagine and play out the fight in their head or the match in their head. The way that they're playing out is that they're landing every blow perfectly, and they're also able to block their opponent, anticipate what their opponent's about to do. And it's all about mental rehearsal because the brain really does not know the difference between reality and imagination. So doesn't know really the difference between fact and fiction there. So we have the person sometimes playing this match ahead of time in their head, where they're actually being very successful in doing that. And now it may not make if the opponent is physically stronger and faster, you still may have reality may still have an obstacle, but it'll make you much more at an advantage point.
Do you give them these things to practice, like even if you're not there? Because say you're working with an athlete or a coach, and they need you on fight night, right? Or they're so used to you having you there for practice or tough times. Are they able to function without you being there and leading them through these things? Because I think that's another big thing about the whole mental game and stuff is that a lot of us athletes or former athletes are so used to routine, right? And
Mhm.
it's so accustomed to us that if it's anything throws off our routine, like maybe you not being there, are they able to function without you? So have you seen a difference in people's performance when you aren't around or if you are around?
Well, I mean, the idea here is to help someone have these tools for themselves. So once or twice I may facilitate that, but they don't need me, all the time to do that. They can do it themselves. So right beforehand, take 5 minutes and just close your eyes and imagine you're in this doing this thing and the same thing. You're succeeding in both on the offensive and the defensive. It'll help you be the best fighter or the best athlete you can be at the moment. But you still have to perfect and practice the mechanics of it, of course, the physicality of it. That has to come through practice and actual physical practice. But the mental rehearsal alone has improved, like and documented and golfers and even fighters. Just the idea of rehearsing it mentally in their mind, and that's where hypnosis can help.
Can you give us an idea of like some of the athletes that you have worked with, and talked about where you had them at the beginning, and then talk about what you took them to?
Well, I work with a lot of high school and college athletes. What the goal here is to get them from a place of not winning to at least holding their own and maybe lasting longer, having a bit more endurance. And you'd be surprised about how far you can go when you have your you don't have the voice in your head. And you don't have that second guessing your decisions, that voice second guessing your decision. So I've had, seen even golfers who had a better swing and better, averages when they again are fully focused. Because that's what this does. It increases your focus, it increases your attention and vigilance, which again will help you much better. And not just as an athlete, but even as a presenter, as a speaker. You know to calibrate the room better, read the room in a more effective way.
What do you see as some of like the main things for these top performers, speakers, athletes, creators, coaches that is kind of creating that self-doubt and having them feel like there is this a second voice in their head holding them back? What have you seen throughout your practice and so on that's like kind of a main thing that sticks out?
Well, the thing that sticks out is that really that second guessing, maybe that inner critic that maybe they've heard, again, everybody's background is different. Maybe they grew up in a critical household where their parents are very critical of them, or they had to really compete hard to get their parents' affection, or maybe they lived in the shadows of like their brothers and sisters were favored more so than themselves. And so now you already kind of feel inadequate to begin with.
And how do you get them to feel adequate?
Well, the first thing is to really take stock of their achievements, because most people, when you were in that cycle of self doubt or being very critical, we downplay all the good things we've accomplished and all the victories that we've had. And so a lot of times you just have someone take stock of what they're doing. What are your achievements? And document it, because most people are very, very surprised to see, I really did all. Because we have a tendency, especially most people when they're in self doubt, you bring up their achievement initially in the beginning and they'll downplay it. They let me win, or they just liked me. That's why they did this. Rather than, no, you worked hard and that's why you're deserving of that. So again, you might find yourself just having to kind of like rewire those limiting beliefs that they've had, what they were told from their parents or teachers, or even what they perceived they heard, because a lot of times we jump to conclusions on our thoughts. And I work a lot with actors too, and a lot of times if they don't get the job, they'll start attributing, oh, that producer or director doesn't like me.
Hmm.
And so gently, kind of confront them. Well, did they say that? No. Well, they didn't give me the job, and we just go from, it must be, if we jump from like A to Z very quickly
Right.
without even considering the fact.
Yeah, I mean that's a tough line to walk because I think in society we're told to be so humble about what we've done, even though we've worked really hard to get in the positions that we've gotten into. And it's even harder to go
Mhm.
from a college athlete to being a professional athlete, even from an actor to getting onto the big stage. Like it's so small a percentage, but we're also told to not brag about it or talk about how well it is that we are at that position, right? Because that's just the society. Like society loves you, loves to build you up, right? Loves the hero story, right? But once you try to take on that hero side of things and you kind of, I wouldn't say
Mhm.
brag or boast about it, or you're confident about it, then they want to tear you back down and create you to be the villain. So how hard is it to help athletes understand that it's okay? Athletes, coaches, actors, creators that are at their highest peak, that it's okay to be confident about who you are. It's okay to be confident to talk about your
Mhm.
accomplishments and not take it to a point to where you sound too cocky.
Well, the whole thing is being humble. You can be humble and still proud of yourself. You can be humble, and still being, proud of what you've done and what you've accomplished. But then there's also another element to it. Now you can do better. Okay, yes, you're always learning. And so that no matter what level of coach you're at, you're still learning. And I'm reading all the time because I think it's so important to keep learning. And that's a bit about being humble. It's like, okay, I can do better. I can still do better. And I'm a better person than I was, yet today than I was yesterday, next month than where I was the month before. So taking that humble approach, it's like they call it like the humble brag. You're still bragging, taking like accomplishments, but you're also building other people up too with you. You're not just saying I'm better than you or I only did this. It's like we did this. We've accomplished it, or I worked so hard because of your help, because of this person's encouragement. So you're building everybody up together rather than, because really cocky and arrogance is when you start thinking that you're better than other people.
Right. Right. So before we get out of here, Albert, what would be something that you would want listeners to take out of this episode for today?
Well, the one thing with a good coach is that we help you find the answers within. So you have all the answers within. You have all the resources you need. Every single one of us has everything we need to succeed. It's just a matter of recognizing that we can. So you
100%.
can. You're
I love it. I love it. That's a great way to end today.
yeah.
Albert, I want to say thank you and appreciate you coming on the Coaches Compass today
And
and
I
dropping some
appreciate you
knowledge.
inviting me.
And we're out.
All right.